Thanks for staying with us right here on Sunrise as we continue this Thursday morning. Now, the Department of Labour released its Employment Equity Annual Report last week. It showed that there's still a lack of transformation within the corporate sector. Now, more than 21 companies have been fined for non-compliance regarding the Employment Equity Act. The numbers on the report also indicate that the majority of management positions are still held by white South Africans. Now, many, of course, are concerned that there are simply too many companies who are disregarding the law and that there should be harsher punishment for them. Joining us for a conversation this morning right here on Sunrise, we're joined by Gerhard Papenfus, who's the Chief Executive Officer from the National Employers Association of South Africa, and Busi Mavuso, who's the Managing Director of the Black Management Forum. You at home can be part of our conversation by sharing your thoughts by giving us a call on 011-447-1742 or 011-447-1620. We're also taking your comments on our Facebook as well as our Twitter pages. Good morning and thank you for joining us. They always say that numbers don't lie. According to the report, Africans constitute 14.4%, in Indians 8.9%, colors 4.9%, and foreign nationals 3.4% of top management position. And when it comes to whites, South Africans looking at like 68%, and of course others are rounding it off at 17%. And this is 19 years since the Employment Equity Act came into being. And it doesn't look like there's been much change. And in terms of like this report comes out annually, it's the 17th one. Now, the big question is, as Black Management Forum, you've taken a position, but every year when this report comes out, there's a position that you take. You're saying things have to change, things have to change. Why is there no change?
So our view as the Black Management Forum is that there is a lack of political will. That is why things are not changing. But I think we're starting to see a difference this year, wherein the Commission of Employment Equity has recommended to the Minister to promulgate Section 53. Section 53 is a section in the Employment Equity Act, and its promulgation will therefore mean that companies that are not compliant with the Employment Equity Act will no longer be able to do the business with the state. It's something in the right direction, but we still don't think it's harsh enough as the Black Management Forum. I think corporate South Africa has really been left to run amok for the longest time, and something is going to have to give because the status quo is unsustainable, Penny. So the numbers that you're actually rehashing show that on the black representation, actually the 14.4% that we're seeing this year is actually only a 0.1% move from the 16th Employment Equity Report, which was published last year in 2016. So if we're going to move on this snail's pace and on this trajectory, can you imagine it means that we're going to have to wait hundreds of years before you see companies that are representative of the demographics of corporate South Africa? And we're saying as the BMF, it cannot be. Something is going to have to give. Businesses are clearly disregarding the law, and what is our government doing about it? Because they are going to have to be very decisive in terms of the action that they take in this regard.
Now, Gerhard, is this solely really something that government has to do something about it? What is the role of the employers in this country, that is like corporate South Africa and business? What is their position and reaction to this report that keeps coming up annually and saying these numbers are not changing?
If you want the numbers to change, then there's certain things that need to happen. The economy is not growing. We're not expanding. So if you have people in your employ, you can't get rid of them to get other people into your employ. For historical reasons, they are the makeup of business and managerial positions was predominantly white. Now, unless they leave, you can't bring other people in, and you can't dismiss them. Well, you can't. The first point is you can't dismiss them. The second point is I don't think they want to dismiss white people. There's a lot of expertise there. And a person, a company, just as a president, if you're a white CEO, I think you're inclined to appoint whites. And if it's based on prejudice, whatever the reason is, that is what's happening. And you have the right to do that. Now, if the moment government interferes into that, you are weakening business. And so I think there's a lot of
how are we going to achieve transformation and balance the issue of inequality in our country? How are we going to do that if that's the case from how you
why? Well, that is a very good question. In the economy, that's not growing. You know, if you look at what is the state doing, government, as far as the state as employer, the same percentage of white people in managerial positions in the private sector is reflected in completely the other side of the coin in the state, where the state is employer, the state, black government employing black people in managerial positions. So it's a cultural thing as well. If you're a business, you must have the right to appoint the people that you want to employ. If you ask for a businessman, appoint somebody that you don't want to employ for whatever reason, you are weakening that business. You cannot do that.
So, Busi, I mean, this conversation can't come to that. It can't come to. It's a cultural thing. It can't come to a black government is only employing black people, and it can't be that it is my business, and because I'm a white person, I will employ who I want to employ. And then I've been in this position for the last 19 years. Until I resign, there's nothing that can happen.
Absolutely.
How are we going to achieve transformation if this is exactly how the position is?
So you can see the reason where we're at is exactly because this is the attitude of business, you know, in corporate South Africa today. You know, there is this sense of entitlement, you know, from white people in this country to say that these are our businesses, so therefore you are not going to.
But it is their businesses.
No, actually, these are public institutions. Remember, Penny, the reason why we're at as black people, it's because there has been a deliberate exclusion in the economic, you know, processes in this country for more than 300 years. We had a system in this country that made sure that as black people we don't actually participate in the mainstream. So the reason why we had more than 107 pieces of legislation which made sure that we don't get involved in the main discourse, as it were. Policies telling us from where to live, what job you can take, you know, who you can marry, and so forth and so forth. So therefore, the democracy that we actually brought into effect in 1994 meant that there has to be a fundamental break from the past. And how do we do that? We do that through enacting policies that are actually going to show that as a nation we are actually now equal. So we probably need to redefine that. What is it that we meant when we said we're trying to bring in a rainbow nation and we're trying to be a democratic South Africa in 1994?
Okay. So how does business view their role in contributing to correcting the past inequality, and making sure that they sort of like adhere to what the Employment Equity Act is trying to readdress?
Madam, if you're a business, you're not subsidized by the state. I don't live on taxpayers' money. If I don't perform, I'm out of business. If you take away my right to appoint the people that I want, I will be out of business. And I tell you, where this quick transformation has taken place in the state, we almost have a failed state. People were appointed to positions that shouldn't have been in that positions. And just take color out of that thing. If you don't appoint a person every time the best person for the job, you have a failing business. And we can't fall back on state subsidies. All we have is we need to perform and do the job the best we can. Now, if the best person for a job is a black person, then you appoint that person as a black person. As you appoint that person. But you must have the right to appoint the persons in business. Now, she's talking about state-owned entities. I'm not talking about that. I'm not talking about the ESCOMs and I think in these places there's a huge amount of transformation, and we know about the rubbish that's going on there. And it's not about the black issue. And I'm surprised that she talks about entitlement. I mean, that's actually as if I'm, as a businessman, because of entitlement, I take the right to appoint the people I need to do my job, to make my business profitable. Because if I don't, it will prejudice the employees in that place. It will impact on employment. And it is already impacting on employment.
We'll get to response.
And we must not go, if you're talking about 300 years of colonialism, maybe we must go back to 2,000 years. Let's just get over it. We're 20 years into democracy. It will be a slow process, because if we are going to fast track this and force business, let me tell you, we won't have business in a couple of years.
Let's take a caller. Let's take Sonia from Annandale on the line. Sonia, thanks for holding on. Your comment or question this morning?
Good morning. I just want to comment. Good morning.
Yes, go ahead. Yeah, I can hear you loud and clear.
Oh, I just want to comment on the comment. The lady she is wrong. I stay in Annandale, and our people don't get jobs here because checkers and spas and all the other places are full of black people. If you go to the shopping malls, it's full of black people. I'm not racist, please don't get me wrong. And if you ask them for help, they can't even help you. And they can't even spell your name. They can't even spell your surname. You have to put the right people in the right places.
Okay, so what is wrong with the black people that are working in Annandale? What are you saying? What's wrong?
Most of them, they can't even answer you if you ask them something.
Okay.
They can't
all right.
Even comment on something. So to me is we have to be fair. Because
if Sonia,
we open our eyes, our country gonna go down really.
Okay, all right. We'll leave it at that. We'll get a response because I guess I don't know if she's talking about skills or what there. Yep. Okay, Arthur Angrybet saying reality is whites are serious at school and have all the resources for them to pass than most other races, so they end up getting top jobs because of their achievements at school. And Zimba saying I think every sector of society needs to make a concerted effort to recruit, train, and promote qualified black people to senior and top management positions. That's the only way. Isha saying there is nothing you can do for it now. It will take time. Any action that will be taken immediately will be unfair to other humans despite of race. So this issue of obviously the progress of black people is not as expected. There's a conversation around skills and being able to deliver to what business expect of them.
So you see, I actually don't like the assertion that Gerhard is making to say that if I employ these people, then I'm going to be out of business. Because that assertion is saying that these people are incompetent, they don't know what they are doing. So if I bring them into my business, then they are going to fail. He's talking about government entities, state-owned entities. I haven't even made reference to state-owned entities. Yes, state-owned entities, when you go into state-owned entities, they're actually representative of the South African demographics, and why they should be. Because when you come into South Africa and you come into businesses, Penny, you shouldn't be confused in terms of where you are at. Because when you actually go into a business in Japan, you know, those businesses look Japan. When you go into Singapore, they look Singaporean. But then when you come into South Africa, you actually confused. So the attitude that still prevails, you know, in as far as corporate South Africa not transforming, you can see we're not dealing with a skills issue. We're dealing with a corporate South Africa that is not interested in transformation, because there is this view that, you know what, I'm actually fine as I am, and there are these issues of unconscious bias that I will actually bring in those that I'm comfortable with.
I'm out of time and I need solutions. Gerhard, what's the way forward? Is this how things are going to stay?
You know what, time is needed. And when I refer to business having the right to appoint what they want, I think there is no difference between black and white in terms of skills. The one is not inferior to the others. I say a businessman must have the right to appoint the person in top management which he wants to do.
Okay, but can he train someone over time? But why that has not happened?
Well, that's a different question, and I've even talked about business culture and all these things. That is a difficult question. All we say is, if government puts pressure on it, it's not going to make the situation better. We cannot. We need to develop, and there's a huge amount of prejudice that needs to go. There's the way we see each other. There's the issue of fear. There's the issue that we don't understand each other. But the moment you put pressure on each other, it's actually going to slow down the project.
Okay, final word.
Government must put pressure on it. You know, it's time to take out the stick approach. Businesses and white people in particular are not going to be allowed to continue running amok the way that they have been. So it's actually about time that they are reined in, you know, and they actually toe the line, you know, because then if we deal with these attitudes, then clearly this is going nowhere fast. You've got a country that is socially unstable because people are sick and tired of the transformation dividends not flowing through to them. And what are we doing about it? What is our response going to be? You've got the EFF on the other side saying, drive these people to the sea, because there is people who are actually on the ground who are frustrated that the transformation dividends are not flowing. So are we going to sit around the table and come up with ways in which we actually make sure that we are inclusive, or are we going to continue with this attitude where we are going to see this country going in flames?
Well, we're going to have to leave it at that. That's our conversation for this morning. Mark Chase is standing by to bring us the latest news-making headlines. It is 7 o'clock right here on Sunrise.